Good day, my name is Alejandro Mendez. I'm a soccer video analyst. Today we will be breaking down and analyzing Arsenal versus PSG. Specifically, it's going to be a tactical breakdown about how Arsenal was able to dominate most of the game but still lost, surprisingly. First of all, we need to understand that PSG had the ball for 77% of this match. Across the whole match, they had 806 passes against Arsenal 196. And yet, Arsenal were winning the first half. That right there, there's a difference between having the ball and having control of the game. Let's break it down. First of all, let's start with the lineup. For Arsenal, we have David Raya as the goalkeeper, Incapi as the left back, Mosquera as the right back, Saliba and Gabriel in the defense. Then we have Lewis Kelly and Declan Rice as the double pivot, two number fives. And up top, we have a couple surprises. We have Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard, Trossard, and Saka. For PSG, we have Sofanov, Nuno Mendes, Pacho, Marquinhos, and Hakimi in the defense, and in the midfield, Vitinha, Joe Neves, Fabian Ruiz, and in the attack, Desiree Doué, Ousmane Dembele, and Vicha Kvaratskhelia. Now, we need to understand a couple things first, and it's why Havertz and why Odegaard up front. It has an explanation, but let's start with Havertz. First of all, as we already know, Havertz is a different type of striker. He's a striker with a lot of mobility. We could say that he acts more as a false nine than a striker. If we compare to Victor Gyökeres is a main striker, and Havertz is more as a false nine. He likes to drop down to receive the ball. He likes to go to the side of the field, and he also can drop down towards that right side to create more a different shape of the game, and sometimes overload a side of the pitch to be able to change it and in that way create a counter attack. Now, by Havertz moving across the whole field, that's how the first goal happened. Okay, the way that Arsenal was pressing the ball was as a 4-2-4. Okay, when we're talking about a 4-2-4, we're talking about these lines right here. Okay, that make the team a lot more compact, creating almost like a cage in the middle. Okay, we have it right here how the team just simply created a whole different structure to be able to cage most of the midfielders in the middle. Now, the first goal was really simple. Havertz dropped towards this side, okay, and the ball was right here with Hakimi. Okay, center backs were a little bit more front. Now, when Trossard gets the ball, as we already know, long pass, Havertz was able to take the back of the goalkeeper and shoot it from here. Okay, something surprisingly about this play is that in the moment that Havertz is about to shoot the ball right here, okay, everybody have an argument that Sofanov was able to do a little bit more. I'm not a big fan of Sofanov, to be honest, but in the moment that Havertz was in this position, he just had a 0.12 expected goals by UEFA website. Okay, that looks like a bad shot, but in the moment that he took the shot, everything went up to a 0.64%, almost unstoppable. So believe it or not, it was a good shot. Okay, Sofanov didn't have that much to do just based on his stats, but hey, that's a whole different story. Now, the things that I want to talk about in this video, okay, it's going to be first of all, a pretty much the building wall from Arsenal. Okay, the first thing to understand is that Arsenal approach is their press. Out of possession, they shifted into a 2-4 shape. Okay, as we already see it right here. Trossard and Saka will come and tuck to the middle. Okay, in this way, two midfielders sitting behind a block of four up front. And this wasn't just random, it was built specifically around one man, and it's Vitinha. Okay, the way that Vitinha likes to play the game, it's dropping down across in the midfield and between the center backs and be able to distribute the ball towards the middle, sides, okay, or long passes to the wingers. Okay, every time Vitinha got the ball, those four forwards took inside, not wide. They closed every passing lane through the middle, creating what you can only describe as a wall. Okay, A wall made it virtually impossible for Vitinha to find a pass between the lines. So we saw across the whole match how or Saka and Trossard or wingers would tuck inside, blocking Fabian Ruiz and Joao Neves. In that way, Vitinha didn't have any opening in the middle. Okay, now this is making PSG to do exactly what Arsenal wants, and that is pretty much go wide. So what PSG does? Okay, they go wide. Okay, they pass the ball towards Nuno Mendes or towards Hakimi. Okay, in these situations, uh, well, they're playing with the fullbacks. That's exactly what Arsenal second players kicks in. The moment that the ball traveled to the PSG fullbacks, one of Arsenal midfielders stepped in. Okay, now, but here's the key detail: the other midfielder, in this case Lewis Kelly, will drop down, okay, to the middle, and immediately cover the space left behind it. They cover each other in each side of the field. Arsenal never left a gap. No matter who had the ball for PSG, there was always a body in the right position and a lane already closed. Okay, and the physical demand of this it's enormous. Okay, but this this is the key moment why they put Lewis Skelly and Rice. Okay, Lewis Skelly and Rice they cover massive amount of ground. They're used to it. They feel comfortable with it. Okay, that's exactly where Arteta picked them. Two midfielders with the physicality and the engine to execute this plan for full 90 minutes. So when this happened, okay, if the ball was wide to Vichavaretskelia, like it multiple times happened, they created an overload in this area with not just Rice, but Saka dropping in, okay, and Rice as well. Well, Lewis Kelly is covering the midfield. In this way, Havertz will drop down, Odegaard will drop down, and Trossard will drop down to this area. In this way, it made almost impossible any passing option for the players of PSG. Now, we also need to talk about the cage. The cage system that Arteta created, it made it really difficult across the Premier League, FA Cups, Community Shield, and also the Champions League, okay, for other teams to score. In the first half, Arsenal built what I'm going to call a cage, okay? The front four will drop into a compact shape and the midfielder stuck in behind them, creating a box on both sides of the pitch, or pretty much a cage. So it will look something around this situation, okay? Two strikers, Trossard, Lewis Kelly, Bukayo Saka, Rice, okay? More towards this location right here, okay? Now, when Kelly will drop in, they will drop in, Vitinha sometimes will come forward. Fabian Ruiz will try to drop to the sides. Joao Neves will also try to drop to the sides. Okay, it will look mostly like this. So when a player from PSG had the ball, okay, in the moment that they pass the ball or they trying to jump lines towards Vichavaraskelia, midfield and left back and right back will jump in, making it almost impossible to pass to the belly because in this situation Lewis Kelly will also drop, Trossard will also drop in here, and they will create an overload in the midfield as well. Okay, now this is a simple idea. If PSG wanted to play wide, they would let them. That's what Arsenal wanted, because the moment the ball go out wide, the trap is not shut. Okay, so this is what we are going to call zonal marking. That's a key detail. Here's something crucial that made this shape almost impossible to break. Arsenal were playing with a zonal marking, not a man-to-man. When Arsenal was attacking, okay, multiple times, he will have a player with them. Okay, each one of them will have a player, right? In this way, if Arsenal lost the ball, okay, it was because of direct pressure from each player from PSG, but not because of a zonal marking. It's completely different. It's another man-to-man. PSG tried the obvious answers, move players around. Okay, so if PSG was attacking, okay, and they weren't able to find any opening whatsoever, okay, we will have shifts across the whole pitch, okay, where players come all the way around, okay, players trying to do things differently, okay, but either way, none of the players from Arsenal will move around. If the ball goes wide, they will do the same thing. Saka dropping in, okay, Rice coming to cover, and all the team will shift towards that side, making it almost impossible for PSG to drive in and try to get the ball in Raya's area. Now, in this situation, okay, it's completely hard to break the shapes. The shape stays completely intact in Arsenal situation. PSG couldn't break the structure just by moving bodies, but Arsenal simply didn't take the bait. Okay, that was a masterclass from Mikel Arteta across the first and second half. Okay, and when the situations got a little weird, a little tricky, when Arsenal needed to drop down in most situations, uh, it will create what we call a 3v2 trap on the wings. And this will be created just based into the way that Arsenal was approaching the game with a 4-2-4. Okay, so what happened when PSG actually managed to get down to the wings? Arsenal already had an answer for that too. The winger on that side drops. Okay, so let's put it simple. If we it was a pass towards Kvaratskhelia, okay, as we saw across the whole game, okay, the midfielder, okay, in this area will also jump in to help, but Saka, most importantly, will also drop and help their players. The winger on that side will drop, and the nearest midfielder tracks across. Suddenly, Arsenal have a 3v2 situation because if Nuno Mendes goes in, it's for a 3v2, or if Nuno Mendes goes inside as an inverted fullback and Joe Neves goes in, it's also a 3v2. And in the moment that they drive in, Lewis Kelly will be completely ready to snap that down. Havertz will also put a body, and the whole team will just shift across the middle, just making a big wall. Okay, in some situations we also saw Trossard as a fifth man, creating almost a back of five. Okay, so it was really hard for PSG to break that situation. Now, three players against two. PSG attackers in that zone, in this specific zone right here, they're not able to do anything. Okay, so what will it happen? This is exactly what Arsenal wanted. They will force to recycle the play. They switch the ball to the other side, and the whole sequence starts again. Okay, as we see it in this situation, it will be ball towards the Serie way. Okay, on the side, so it will be Incapié, Trossard, Skelly inside. All the defense will shift inside as well, and that's when Rice comes to cover. Odegaard will drop more to the middle. Havertz will drop, and Saka will also drop. Okay, now this is exactly why the expected goal numbers look so different from the possession numbers. PSG had the ball, but Arsenal had the control of the game so far. Okay, the numbers don't lie in this situation. We'll see the stats. PSG had 77% of the possession, 806 passes, but only 0.26 expected goals, when Arsenal just with 196 passes and the expected goals were 0.34. Arsenal were the more dangerous team with a quarter of the ball. This is not just luck. This is the tactical masterclass that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta have been giving across the whole season. Okay, now some people will call it a little boring. I'm not a big fan of this type of play style by Arsenal. Okay, but it worked across all competitions. They were able to shut down Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. They were able to pretty much be in a way of the winning a UEFA Champions League just by two penalties. Okay, so this is a lot of credit for Mikel Arteta. So if everything was so perfect from Arsenal, how PSG tied the game? This is really important, and this is something that across every single Champions League we have seen it, and it's just by individualities. Okay, in this situation, you cannot just only rely of your tactical breakdown. Yeah, it's really important. Okay, it's really good and it's really useful to have a really tactical structure in your team. But the honest answer is, at some point, some player will fail. Okay, and that's when individualities and top class players like Dembele, Doué, Vitinha, and Kvaratskhelia come into play. Okay, when you build a wall that good, when you have a structure that is disciplined, the only thing that breaks it it's individual quality, pure and simple. You can have all the tactics in the world, and all the compactness, all the shape, and then one moment of brilliance cuts through everything. And PSG found theirs. Okay, as we already remember, it was a really simple play. Okay, it was an overload in the left side after a corner kick, so most of the defense from Arsenal was already in. Okay, players were trying to snapshot this pressure. Okay, so it was around this area right here how PSG was able to break everything. Kvaratskhelia, Doué overloading towards the side. Okay, Vitinha in the middle. Okay, with William Pacho, Fabian Ruiz, Dembele on the side, João Neves. Okay, Kimi, Marquinhos, Nuno Mendes. Okay, Pacho, Nuno Mendes. Perfect. By doing this situation right here, by Havertz and Saka going to press Vitinha, that's exactly what Vitinha wants. Okay, simple play. In this situation, the ball will go wide towards Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes will drive in, pass to Desiree Doué. Okay, instantly Dembele will drop. Okay, now also Doué is going to execute a clinical pass towards Kvaratskhelia. Okay, after this happens, Dembele understands the opening, gets the ball, and this is where the individuality kicks in. Dembele understands that Incapié overcommitted and jumped towards the presser. That left a huge gap to be exploited in the back, right here. Okay, just by doing that, okay, Kvaratskhelia understood the situation, run towards the space, was a clean pass from Dembele, and Mosquera created the penalty. Okay, this is how PSG, just by one simple play, was able to equalize the game. In this situation, what is the takeaway? This match shows us that football is not just about who has the ball, it's about who dictates the term. Arsenal came into this game with plans, they executed near perfection, and they forced one of the best possession teams in the world just 0.26 expected goals across 90 minutes. Okay, the possession stats tells you that PSG dominated the game. The goal average tells you a completely different story, and that story is written in tactics. One thing is having the ball, another thing is entirely having control of the game. Okay, congratulations for PSG for another Champions League, but we also need to understand that Mikel Arteta is an excellent coach. Was just two penalties away from winning a Champions League, a historical Champions League for Arsenal. And the takeaway is sometimes, even if you have a tactical superior team, sometimes the names are going to be heavier than those tactics. In this case, Vicha Varazkelia, with a man of the match, player of the season. Okay, so I hope to see you guys in another video. You guys can subscribe. We'll see you next week.